Oh, this is for nurses and for doctors and for police where they're legitimate, for service people where they're legitimate, EMS where they're legitimate, where and how they're being, like, see, we're people since founding, where they could put people at the end of the whip, or they're going to shut up and they're going to be fake positive and fake righteous negative. Fact cheating nature, then defenses of that is fact cheating nature styles. This is what American history is about. So forgiveness is I have to use your ID. Like, I'm not a doctor, not a lawyer, not a police officer, I'm not a nurse. But it is recorded that the ground is relevant that in how since before cars, the pathology of infrastructure. In Hartford, Connecticut, for example, it is relative to the pathology of infrastructure that was forced with the fact, cheating nature, torture, and slavery of our founding parents, as what is in Wethersfield, Connecticut, between New York and Hartford. I mean, between New York and Boston, as what was left with slavery in the North and in the South. And the counter to that, only semi-counter extortion method to it. See, we were supposed to simultaneously free speech, but we lost memory. We lost the damages, and it was undiscerned how it was being exploited. How all victims of abridged sciences, of abridged perfect world forsaken, worse than valued, criminally foreign influence, all locations, areas, and states, simultaneously pretending other. Trained, hurt, tricked, persuaded to, forced to, worse, blaming other things, others themselves, even when right, like blaming the white man, who was the slave with them. They took the identity ground. They tactically denatured it to cause negative value nature progressions. Acts and natures and roles with that as identities of titles, jobs, people A through Z. Sciences A through Z. Further, that database relationships of the ancient republic, of the ancient campus Marseille system, is concentrated identity of relationship to, like a concentrated identity of relationship to a cord inside a whole strum with a chord. In other words, the notes of for example, the notes of music. They have an identity. They have an identity of relationship to themselves, and they have the shared value of that. They have the importance of chord progressions, because everything is in the sciences share an identity and demonstration of its identity of value for progression, and where and how the slash, the solidus. The solidus, the slash stands for a semi-nature that we are as a quality of diffusion, not just where we are standing. This is why the halo comes with the A and the W on both sides of it, where there is positive, also positive onto itself, and the halo is lit on a picture that's on Yale's website, Yale University, of Jesus Christ. This is because English was revealed in ancient times, and then semi-ancient times before modern religions. The sciences became criminally foreign influenced. They became hurt, tricked, persuaded to, worse, forced in, to defend themselves, abridged from appreciation of the identity they share. It's not just because they share that identity. That is an identity of possession onto and as the value of each identity of value progression, no matter how small and no matter how big. And science reveals this. For example, Howard is the order of the finite, from smaller than zero and from bigger than infinity. More and more for identity of forever nature is being made. And note how an identity has a simultaneous identity relationship to where both positive and negative are positive to itself. Yourself. Myself. There are three identities of positive that are invisible but still discernible. They're invisible, and everything, as with everything in demonstration of this one identity, that is the phenomenon of being a semi-nature that will only stay a simultaneous nature that will only stay a simultaneous nature. All exceptions, and all exceptions as exception nature, that are in demonstration of this. So, this is what we examine with this channel. YouTube.com/user/Romulus Wall. My name is Anthony Wall. YouTube.com/user/ROMULUS one W. User/ROMULUS YouTube.com/user/Romulus Wall is Anthony Wall. And maybe many of you know me from boxing. What I've been talking about too. See, people miss how we have criminally foreign influence logic racketeering and identity thefts roles with a method that is inter-campuses, each age and nature, even inter-homeschooled. This is they have all the communications channels involved with this, a method that keeps each age of fact treatment nature victim, time treatment, stuff like that, valuing the perfect world forsaken because of that, because we have simultaneously misprision individual, everywhere, as the species identity of volume, self-value, an identity of negative value nature progression roles. Contrast self-valued fact treatment nature peak sophistication roles. That can't help but be styles in collusion with that which is criminally foreign influence, with all areas, locations, manifest as different from the branches of government themselves, individually grouped together distinct crime methods in cases, but also non-distinct, sickly distinct crime methods in cases, and roles with overt criminal enterprises, private ones at the same time. See, no one understands this till too late. They were backed into, and as I didn't see, all the identity has a relationship to all the parts of your body, all the identities of your body. See how coding can't help but work with identity. See, but they're trying to reinvent, and they're using time too well, ways too fast, too slow. They're exploiting exceptions in exception nature by forcing IDs to be like, I looked up someone's name. That's involved with deans, forging names, switching names, foreign and domestic families and police, and overt criminal enterprise, private ones, with relevant connections. That's all the things. Sounds more complicated than it is. Like if I try to explain in English, why should I have to? Because those people are involved with with falsified police reports. Those people are involved with identity thefts. At the same time, our branches of government have been hiding life progressions. See, forgiveness is because they're victims involved with it. Involvement, how they are involved with the self-recorded, self-valuing, their predicate acts roles with overt criminal enterprises, private ones in themselves. That's what's actually recorded. So you have to follow mandated law. We have, they also pretend they need to pretend. For example, this is in relationship to nurses involved with this too, with psychology. They with prisons and with hospitals. They've been pretending people have mental diagnosis by fabricating information, forging names of doctors, switching names of doctors. Those same doctors are involved with the interbranch drug cliques and the foreign overt criminal enterprises, drug cliques, and all that interbranch. Tied to them, like with Central Connecticut State University in New Britain. All the colleges and universities and intercities tied to lie progressions from those spots and their roles with the methods exploiting and having exploited the grammar schools, intercities, and locations on and off them, because all that was manifest to that was used remotely, knowing that they would have to hide lie progressions. It invested that further too, by keeping other bad things happening. See, this is why forgiveness is so you guys will allow logic that is simple, but you're not following mandated law. Wethersfield police have been writing fake transcripts to fake about what is recorded over their phones, and tied to it, and they put me on a fake conversation on fake locations on their police department and off it. In relationship to two Mendez police brothers. I've never had a class with them. I never hung around with them growing up. Not once. They were recorded, confessed, and demonstrated involved with those lie progressions. And with timed, tricks with interbranch family members and the foreign inclusion and private inclusion. Like this Leahy family. I didn't know his name when I was a kid. This is also them criminally speaking, everyone criminally speaking through others. There's a Leahy family, and there's a Dillon family that I never had conversations with. They're recorded, confessed, and demonstrated by a whole bunch of kids through time. And as parents who then were involved and are involved with him with child abuses of others' kids now. Because he's been involved with a whole bunch of names, that forged names, switch names, fake conversations with people, delusions, raw, criminally foreign influence, fact-cheaping natures. They attached me to fake yelling too. No, when I asked to report, I asked 50,000 times. Help me make a police report. These are Wethersfield police involved interstates. My town's police chief, reportedly James Cintron, recorded, confessed, and demonstrated involved with further World Trade Center predicate acts with a whole bunch of officers. Also recorded, confessed, and demonstrated he's involved with extortion methods where they forge names and switch names. Then they sent dozens and dozens of officers. So they switch so you can't know which one they all have to be counted individually, grouped together. Now, they also involved with psychologists. And psychology also involved with not just drug crimes. Their patients and criminals were recorded and are recorded involved with crimes with them before that. They have sensitivities in relationship to the roles with people from other countries, like with the Wethersfield Police Department used to be and is now, tied to where they are with the Wethersfield Shopping Center. Now, those identities of countries that know about each other's relationship here and not, like each other or not, they still have roles with the same. This town's police chief in 1 years ago recorded and confessed and demonstrated involved with the same house that involved with this pattern since I was in grammar school. They're preventing me free speech by attaching me to fake words with people everywhere I go. Intercities, all recorded, tied to the predicate acts roles with those locations tied, and their ties to my street now, and with the ones that went before. There's a Brian, I'm sorry, and a Terry, but a Cleza or Lewis or what name there's names forging, switching. Then they have extended family members of theirs. A whole bunch of people tied to them with predicate acts on off Trinity College and Central that are connected. Roles with federal criminals and former director of the FBI's co-defendants and their family members. Also with dozens of people on off the Britain Superior Court. I mean, yeah, that too, but also on off Fox Connecticut News in downtown Hartford. On off WFSB in Rocky Hill. And this is through time rolls with that which American history is really about. But about overcoming. But see, there are roles with it. So we have blind sacrifice of nurses that don't need to be in danger here. We knew that we could have had they control the airflow anyway. So it should go to one side constantly. For example, there are a number of things. The pathology of the infrastructure below our feet in Wethersfield, Connecticut, that was associated with the fact, human nature, torture of, and slavery of our white founding parents, and our black ones, and our Native American ones, because that's where it makes America damage control. From what is across the globe of the species, tactically denatured and or landscape theater to keep everyone unfathoming how a human species fact human nature organized crime method developed the means to contain all identities of sophistication individually grouped and together by maintaining roles self-valued with abridged sciences that are in relationship to this identity of value progression that is native pure as the identity of the body of forever, as an identity of volume per science. It doesn't matter who you are. Its identity is an identity of relationship to our quality of fact should be nature. For example, as positive, that will allow free speech. I shouldn't have to repeat and change my logic. They have those. So these people, you know what they do? I have no police report. I have no criminal record. These people are recorded, confessed, and demonstrated they've been using. You know how you're not supposed to have recidivism, so they try to do things to, and they're telling people to talk about people certain ways. They have innocent people they've been setting up because the interbranch have been in collusion since they were kids with database crimes on and off campuses, live progressions tied to that, illusions. Rick C.M. Faglione with this Leahy family, and with a Brian Silver, he confessed and recorded also. Now, that was after he graduated at high school. I never even knew him during high school. These are people that put their minds on me. I didn't even think about him in high school. And then afterwards, because they had to hide live progressions, because they had, that court was involved with the child abuses of that Brian Silver, who's associated with prosecutor standing. I think he recorded. They implied he was one. They have his picture on the wall, and I never had a conversation with him. He's also recorded, confessed, and demonstrated with people in a pattern like a Mike Pandolf also, and people tied to a Chet Casper. I forgot this kid's name. They recorded, confessed, and demonstrated all along Route 3, and from Lake Newington. Their roles with so in other words, with whatever narratives are in the background. And with the Joshua Julian, he's pretending he had a conversation with me. He's recorded and involved with Wethersfield Police Department, stealing people's identities. Simultaneously pretending to be against their roles with overt criminal enterprises, and simultaneously, while they have been acting with them, They've been doing that with the same one since I was in a grammar school. And it's, you know what bugs me the most about it, people? Is because, see, black and white, how simple it is to discern the physical delusions and the criminally foreign influence premises treatments and identity treatments of our legal experts when they make opinions about what caused slavery, when it was so demonstrably this organized crime method I'm talking about. And they're talking about physical delusions, and they're pretending offensively that they're worried about little kids. Oh, these kids can't take these kind of subjects. Meanwhile, no. They are recorded through time simultaneously. Same ones involved with the principal child offender. They forced, not told on, with more than and now recorded. And I don't know this Mike Levine, but this is how you understand. This is how you think. So we'll get them a response, because this is what too. They have. I'll show you how to speak for the law, because they can't speak for themselves. And you know something? They have the wire crime method, you could see, because it's all right if a nurse wants to disagree with me, but it's recorded. I asked online 50,000 times. See, they want to use their means with these. They have some sick people with drugs over there, and with this Leahy family. Dozens of names. They are recorded, confessed, and demonstrated with predicate acts that use crime methods with courts, where they stack names and pretend that means something. And then they pretend the person's saying people are bad. And everyone's doing that, making judgments about people they don't even know. Follow mandated law for your branch of government. Right here. Don't leave them... right, all where people need to be relied on. That's where they have the evil. That's every spot is guilty with this originally and still. So but they have offensively, the people fake care when people speak, and fake, as in covering the misprision and life progression, because we have the courts of various natures already also recorded with how they invest them with the locations crimes, on-off body dumping spots. Everyone speaking through others used criminally. My new and past neighbors are with the Dillon family also. I don't know their name. That's another thing they do with the confessions. This is how they're exploiting our human fact-cheating nature. Everyone recorded self-valued roles with and as criminal and seditious natures. For example, when you make opinions in relationship to when someone says, there are people overtly forsaken. It's an identity of correlation. It has an identity of relationship to itself, and it has a value. That is true always, and increasingly has value. That people stacking in every modern city, even though it wasn't the fault of anyone, it was breaching method employed. And where and how that breaching method is effective then and now. It maintains self-valued roles because it's using premises treatments. It's using defenses of what is indefensible. And it already has used it. And then it used what was engineered manifest with that. And it ordered that you guys are inside someone's coding, instead of letting the perfect world expand, because it's only gonna here, or we're gonna be forced from here lethal IDs as negative value nature to positive value nature's perfection somewhere else. Boxings of Santa's House Alone. So it is important. So, like same thing with nursing homes. We have great people who will help out our elderly. But send them, they do it for jobs, everyone. In the system's criminally foreign influence, they go into infrastructure, those rooms and stuff like that. It's not made for that. You need a bed next to a bed. When they go off this bed, they go in this bed so they can change it. Otherwise, everything stays leveraged by the people involved with the law, and you need to hide live progressions to those spots because all kinds of drug crimes. Right where they need to help them. They don't have time. There's no other people. Not by accident. They set up roles with slavery overt. You keep going about your business. See, this is what we're going to do with this business owned as reliefs. And when it gets so big, see, we have to pick a cutoff point, and then we'll go to the other parts that are still left forsaken. But we're going to make it so it's going to never stop evolving. But we'll make the money right away because New York will use, this is we reverse the colors. And we do this as a training exercise to understand American history in relationship to this method. Now, I asked you 50,000 times to respond for the interbranch forging names. They switch names too so they could use their locations to fabricate things into databases. Other nations kept and keep this. And I never had never had a class with a Czech Hasper. He's recorded, confessed, and demonstrated with people from the Church Street, around the corner from there, all the way to CCSU, through cities, involved with predicate acts with him. And now Hartford Hospital is also with this Czech Hasper. Some guys, they made confession. They saw they stacked people's names that I never had a conversation with. Guy forced me. Also, there's a person on the sex offender registry, and his mother is with the town offices in Wethersfield. Oh, it's a Smith lady. I don't know her name. I forget if she changed her name because she had different boyfriends or husbands. In other words, she had a rough life. See, but they making me speak through other people. But she's tied to a kid with the Wethersfield town offices in the library, who's also involved with this Leahy doctor, with a Dr. Zeman, and with a Dr. Shamsi Ali. He's got involved with wire crimes and mail crimes with him, and police equipment crimes, and descriptions of it with these two Mendez police too, and with a whole bunch of officers that use the name McGee. At least 3 of them, and they're also recorded, confessed, and demonstrated involved with predicate acts on and off Rocky Hill High School. Through time, also with their relationships to, math teachers and stuff like that, and sensibilities with religions. There are 2 Domain brothers, and also recorded, confessed, and demonstrated intercities involved with predicate acts with people with on and off Fox Connecticut News, with these 2 Mendez police, on and off the Wethersfield Police Department, on and off campuses. Now he's also, the Domain family is also recorded, confessed, and demonstrated by Rick Sion Faglione, that he's involved with Brian Silver and with a Leahy family, 2 Brendan Leahys, with crimes in all kinds of cases, roles, as their roles with them with areas. Now these are also people with investigators and investigations used to hide the life progressions tied to that, tied to their crimes and cases, and their crimes also with the O'Brien family, also recorded, confessed, and demonstrated criminally involved with them, with both sides, with both corners of Highcrest Street, all corners of it. And with the police in the background coaching people, and with the investigators, a whole bunch of ways. But that way also coaching them to lie about me in the background, because they've been attaching me and little kids through time to fake locations, fake ties to other people, fake natures of ties to other people, and they've been exploiting it. So they also if anybody doesn't want their names used, especially people that I don't know, especially if someone they get them to respond, because the Wethersfield police have all kinds of wire crimes, and their roles just lying about what is recorded by their camera equipment. Also, for putting me in fake quotations with this older police brother, Eric Mendez, and his older brother, whatever his name is. their names with names forging and switching is also recorded, confessed, and that demonstrated their roles with extortion, and with former director of the FBI's co-defendants. He's also confessed, and those people are also confessed and recorded and threatened that way, demonstrated, also involved with the other predicate acts on off my property and in my area through time. Now, Ray Colo and Joshua Julian also recorded, confessed, and demonstrated with the two sex offenders' families, and roles further on the with the Facebook page stewards of the campuses involved with the agencies and with the judges, various natures of the same courts, like superior courts and different natures of courts, like district court and like probate courts in Hartford, and with the superior court in Hartford, involved with leading up to the World Trade Center attack, a series of predicate acts that I was asked with others for help because the people were influenced, to what also I was asked for help for in relationship to those identity of the ground locations. Not asked for help for. I would know people in my high school had made confessions about that same location in West Hartford, and then my high school was in Wethersfield. And see, now, so I was already understanding that. Now, real or made up, there's a guy they said is a serial killer, and they have the body dumping spot there, behind the building there, that Justin Glavinskis and others, and Lucinda also recorded, confessed, and demonstrated they have roles with judges and with military families, on off web school, on off the principal's child sex offender school. We're also with other military families, dozens of people on off Willard Hall, on off Central Connecticut State University, on off Paul Manafort Drive. That's relevant for how they have a response time in relationship to towing of cars. And in relation, I never had my car towed, no. And in relationship to nothing personal. But that was recorded, confessed, and demonstrated, also relevant because of their many numbers of ties to the World Trade Center from there. And as people also involved with this organized crime acts over here that are relevant to their crimes in Washington, D.C., and with their crimes on and off cases since, and with depositions leading up to and in a 2006 case, Wethersfield Police, Wethersfield Interbranch family members are recorded, confessed, and demonstrated intercity crimes, on and off cases, and other cases, and with depositions that had nothing to do. Also relevant to their roles with this Dr. Zeman, recorded, confessed, and demonstrated, involved predicate acts with a Judge Killian, also recorded with physical delusions and sequence shifts, which Interbranch does with also names forging and switching, also with the Leahy clique, with the various natures of courts involved with predicate acts with them, and World Trade Center predicate acts. I've had conversations with me about the World Trade Center. And then they asked me about that because 3 times they forced me in for a mental evaluation. These are also people. I have to come. There's also people with forcing people to speak through other people. In other words, so there were people on my street before the principal child offender was found out, and more than there are recorded with female judges and female prosecutors, and male and female judges retired and standing too, and prosecutors retired and standing too, involved with forging names and switching names while they're fabricating with a whole bunch of different police departments, falsified police reports into databases. And that's tied to their child abuses through time. They were doing this against all kinds of kids. Now there's a strength. There are people that confessed and recorded that they went to a St. Anthony's school, who also have roles with Wethersfield Interbranch, criminally foreign influence, and their roles with identity thefts against the family members of other students and stuff like that. Now, I believe that must be relevant. I don't know if, I doubt, I don't know. They used to be, so they had times that are different. But we have courts that were involved the whole time with the child abuses. We're going to use the identity of correlation, its identity of relation to itself, and the value of that increasing, about how the most overtly forsaken areas are relevant simultaneously, while we're focusing just on Wethersfield, Connecticut, whereas the suburbs, this is with the pathology of infrastructure that was forced since before cars to cause negative value nature progressions. And they built all exceptions and exception nature to be valued by roles with this fact treatment nature trap that is an identity trap. This is the Constitution abridged. They have time treatments used always too fast, too slow, so they could keep using interbranch locations to prevent mandated law because they are already caught. They're hiding it by criminal readings of statutes because they're leaving out how it is also recorded how their motivations were maintained through what they were used for as kids, with as database crime roles and sequence shifting crime roles, that they're leaving out with the kids. Those aren't motivations that are leveraged by kids. See, we have them interbranch with overt criminal enterprises, self-valued, liars with them. Now the courts recorded, confessed, and demonstrated they force people to be criminal and seditious natures of positive treatments with them by preventing mandated law, by preventing people from speaking about sequence shifts. Follow mandated law for Wethersfield, Connecticut. They're preventing me from telling about them lying about what is actually recorded. Don't forget, former director of the FBI and other agencies and their family members are also recorded and involved. And you'll see when you see the extent of what they've been doing with all these people tied to these two Mendez police. And I barely know the Mike Roberts. He's also recorded, confessed, and demonstrated with people along that line to Central Connecticut State University and interstates involved with, this. And also, as, victims, but victim predators with my neighbor. These are all people I know through my neighbor, barely. And the ones I don't know tied to him, like a Joshua Julian. But he's also recorded, confessed, and demonstrated with witness protection program, also tied to my area, and the extent of the medical racketeering and the physical delusions that are in the way of justice, while they're pretending to be justice, and of that which justice is about, which is about liberation of this that is already beyond us, while it is in our reach, while it is smaller than anything. This is the order of the finite. So all we have to do is admit this trap. This is using how we are a value/value progression, and the slash is a semi-nature with that in demonstration of it's invisible but still discernible, the identity of the body of forever. Also, evidences of this are that those who deny this are recorded reliant upon criminally foreign influence premises treatments, identity of the ground relationship treatments, identity of what it means to be an expert on something. They're all fake, whereas now it counts. So, this is American history can't be told unless you understand how James Madison and how George Washington could only semi-counter extort with their plan. that which was left entrenched with slavery in the North, that which was entrenched with the fake sides of the North, when they didn't really go to free slavery, and it was still criminally foreign influence movement. And even though that inside of it, the movement to stop it no matter what is not criminally foreign influence, what was left entrenched, though, was still criminally foreign influence. That was still being self-valued. That was still too much engineered onto it, roles with that forced words were forced on our founding parents. They want that explained. George Washington chopped down the fake branches of government in Connecticut right before the last battle of the Revolutionary War through the help of the French general. But he did not chop them down. He left slavery. He left us to demonstrate until we get not slavery in relationship to not slavery. Everyone's slavery. That means including understanding how they did it sickly distinctly, so they could keep out how sickly non-distinctly, even though it was simultaneously overt and simultaneously insidious, from being demonstrated. Dr. Shub knows that he demonstrated simultaneously overtly and simultaneously insidiously collusion with people that, I'm not saying he knows about this part of it, but that were also recorded involved leading up to the World Trade Center attack, roles with predicate acts delivery system method that has them all methods of liars, motivations, natures, needs, interests, all real, but juxtaposed. Not as a white man, as